Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to take your sources, cut through that noise, and really get straight to the insights you need. Today we're diving into the global coffee market. Specifically that surprising dip in prices you might have noticed after things were looking so strong. Our mission, to untack what's really driving these shifts and, importantly, what it all means for you.
Yeah, it's a really interesting picture right now, isn't it? Quite complex when you look closely. Let's see if we can uncover some of those aha moments for you.
Okay, let's get right into it. Looking at the numbers from, September 16th, Robusta futures in London, they took a bit of a hit. November 2025 contracts down $61. That's $4,781 a ton, but 1.26% down.
Hmm.
And Arabica over in New York dropped even more. December 2025 futures fell like almost 2%.
Yeah, down 8.3 cents, landing at 409.35 cents per pound.
And even the average prices in Vietnam saw a little dip, right? About 1,300 dong per kilo.
That's right. Now, the immediate reasons for that turnaround are fairly clear. We saw quite a bit of position liquidation, traders basically closing out their current holdings.
Cashing in after the rally, or maybe cutting losses.
Exactly.
Okay.
Taking profits off the table for the weekly ledger. And on top of that, you had forecasts for some much-needed rain in Brazil. That naturally eased some of the immediate worries about supply.
Right. But, given those factors, maybe you'd expect a sharper fall. Prices didn't exactly crash. So what stopped the bottom from really dropping out? That's the interesting part here.
Well, that's where it gets fascinating. There's some powerful underlying support kicking in. Global inventory levels are still, critically low. That acts like a kind of safety net.
Okay.
And importantly, we're seeing the Brazilian real, the BRL, strengthening.
Ah, okay. And how did that play in?
Well, a stronger real makes Brazilian coffee more expensive for buyers using other currencies. So it tends to limit exports coming out of Brazil. It effectively puts a floor under the prices.
Got it. So the takeaway isn't just that prices dipped, but why they didn't completely tank. It really speaks to these stronger underlying forces that maybe aren't always obvious.
Absolutely. And beyond just those immediate numbers, there are bigger things happening.
So connecting this to the bigger picture, what else is keeping things, buoyant?
Well, if we zoom out a bit, you see a couple of key things. The U.S. dollar, for instance, recently hit its lowest level in over 2 months.
And that makes dollar-priced coffee cheaper for international buyers, right?
Precisely, boosts demand, potentially. Then you have the ongoing situation with U.S. tariffs on Brazilian coffee. That's causing some real supply chain congestion. It actually limits the immediate flow of coffee, which, counterintuitively perhaps, supports futures prices.
Interesting bottleneck effect. And fundamentally, supply and demand. Is supply keeping up globally?
It's a mixed bag, really. CONAB, that's Brazil's food supply agency, they actually revised their 2025 forecast down for Arabica, about 5% lower to 35.15 million bags.
Oh.
But on the flip side, Robusta is looking at a record harvest, 20.1 million bags.
Wow, quite a difference. And demand. Still strong.
Oh, yeah, demand looks robust. In the U.S., something like 66% of adults drink coffee daily, and nearly half of those are regularly into specialty coffee. And in Europe, too, demand for both the premium stuff and instant coffee is soaring, even with inflation.
Okay, so demand's strong, supply is mixed. Which brings us back to that critical weather factor you mentioned. A bit of rain sounds good short term, but is it really enough to fix the underlying concerns?
That's a really crucial point. It raises big questions about long-term stability. NOAA, that's the U.S. Weather Agency, they're forecasting a 71% probability of a La Niña event kicking in during the last quarter of 2025.
Man, Niña. That often means drought for Brazil, doesn't it?
Exactly. It carries a significant risk of drought for Brazil's really important 2026-27 crop. So yeah, while the recent rain is welcome, it's just not enough for that long-term soil moisture recovery. It's kind of like putting a Band-Aid on a much deeper issue.
So it sounds like this short-term relief might be masking a pretty serious long-term threat. Is the market really pricing that risk in yet? Or is it too focused on today's rain?
That really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Look, short-term, prices might keep seeing this rung look, that fluctuation. Capital might shift around, maybe into gold or oil for a bit. And there's pressure from Brazil's recent rain, sure, but the medium-term outlook, it looks pretty robust.
Because
Because of that weaker U.S. dollar, the persistently low inventories we talked about, the big looming threat of La Niña, and that growing demand, especially for specialty coffee. These are all strong drivers likely to keep prices, elevated.
We've covered a lot on what's driving prices overall, but do these dynamics hit both Robusta and Arabica the same way? Are there differences you should be watching?
Good question. No, they're not quite the same. Robusta seems better supported right now. That's thanks to really strong demand, particularly from Europe and Asia.
Okay.
And Arabica faces a few more risks. It has its natural off-year production cycle coming up, where yields typically dip after a big harvest. And of course, it's much more vulnerable to those potential drought conditions we discussed.
It's just incredible how many global threads connect right back to, well, your morning cup of coffee. As you sip your next one, maybe give this some thought.
Indeed. Think about how all these intricate global forces, everything from weather patterns shifting miles away to international trade policies to how our own tastes are evolving, how they're all converging. They're shaping the future of that brew in your hand. And maybe ask yourself, what implications could this have for your coffee choices down the line? And what might that perfect cup end up costing?